The same actor doing the same gag in both movies, The Blues Brothers and Trading Places. The guy who takes the actor's stuff, valuables, and puts them in the brown envelope is Frank Oz. Okay, I just noticed something. We're at 30 on the screen, and we're watching Eddie in a double-breasted, crested blazer in the home that the Duke brothers have given him, that he hasn't realized the concept. He's stealing the ashtrays and the small valuables, and it's very funny, and they're trying to explain to him he's stealing his own stuff. But if you look at the staging, and he's brilliant in this, Eddie is, it's sketch comedy staging. The other actors are just kind of moving around to give him room to play the comic beat. I'm stealing stuff, and it's funny every time I steal it. It's a predicate crime. They're making the same joke. I'm stealing from myself. And they're walking around and being the props. It's like the Californians in Saturday Night Live. When you watch the scene, his interactions, I've started the tape again. He doesn't believe them. He's over by the TV cabinet, and he's telling him Elvis is coming in, and he's putting it in his pocket. And Eddie is very good with this. And Don was such a sweet, sweet man, and he comes over, and he's talking to Eddie in this condescending way, very slowly, because tell me this is not sketch comedy and staging. Dropping the vase, the three of them standing there.
The insurance fraud.
The absolute calculation of insurance fraud, followed by the scene ends with the three of them holding up their hands. The way a sketch comedy ends, they all do the same thing at the same time. No, don't break any more. All laughing. And here it comes. No, thank you. That's what we call a button, ladies and gentlemen.
A button?
A button, the end of the scene, a little punctuation mark. And here's an actor that I found difficult to work with. He really wore the part on his sleeve. You couldn't find a nicer guy than Ralph Bellamy. Speaking of actors, by the way, we're in a two-shot with Ralph and Don sitting in the club, now back in the wide shot. Everybody's standing up. The bell's ringing. Oh, here's a little moment I'm proud of, because you see these guys at 33, all the waiters bending over the horseshoe table. I've paused there for a moment. To the thing that makes it funny or amusing or not realistic, in keeping with the paintings that aren't realistic but are actually there, is to have these guys absolutely perfectly coordinated with military precision. And a couple of rehearsals, and they all bend over at the same time. And it's a very small thing, but it's part of the craft of setting background, finding comedy wherever you can find it. And this is more about actual tone than getting a laugh out of it. Because you're saying how formal this is, because these are very formal proceedings, because we're about to very effectively destroy a man's reputation. And here it is with the magic Hollywood, complete, perfect pickpocket insertion, nobody notices. Deborah is such a good wardrobe person. Beaks in white socks, red pants, and a loud coat.
Why is he in white socks? I noticed that.
I have to stop a second to answer the question at 34, why Beaks is in white socks. Because everybody else is properly dressed with black dark suits, black socks, black shoes. That's the way adult men of a certain rank in society behave. when you want someone to hire to come in and do dirty work, be the plumber, or pass other waste in or out of people's pockets and ruin their reputation, they typically wear white socks. It's a little bit of an overstatement for the cartoon value. Now playing it again. The guy's talking, they're all gasping. Two shot on the brothers, back to the guy talking.
Beautiful wood.
It's everywhere they went, it'd make you cry. It was so beautiful. Hug Lewis, but now it's 100 times worse. And now here comes Mr. Beeks to come and talk.
I think he was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes, he always plays the bad guy. This was a very different time when a guy would stand up and just because somebody said he was security, he'd start giving orders, and then 100 guys worth millions of dollars would start putting their hands on people's shoulders without fussing at all. It hasn't been my experience. You better be paying him or have a guy with a badge next to you.
He who compromises liberty for security deserves neither.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Paine still speaks from the grave. Was that Patrick Henry?
Benjamin Franklin.
Wow.
Close.
Deborah Nadoolman is a good costumer. She picks a loud, off-color sport coat with a matching but incorrect pattern tie, and which matches the guy's pants. So he thinks he's a snappy dresser, but he's wearing white socks. I mean, she's expressed character in the clothes she picked out.
Brilliant.
It's not to be missed. Oscar nominated, chair of the USC costume department. So he holds up the two guys grab Winthrop, cut to the two brothers. We're not saying it's the Koch brothers. They drag him off, and you cut to the painting. Look how beautiful some of those paintings are.
J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan. Okay, this is Frank Oz in the police station, and I'm going to stop a second because I want to talk about something. This is 37. I've stopped. He's opening the little gate, and he's about to talk to Beeks. And we were sitting in the trailer, John and I, and he was saying, I want to get somebody to play this part, to have this conversation, to show Danny really coming down and getting booked and having to give his stuff to a uniformed cop to put in a brown envelope. But I don't know, I want to get somebody clever instead of just some bit player. So he says, I don't know who to get. So I said, why don't you get Frank Oz, because he played the same part in Blues Brothers? And John said, that's a great idea, Mr. Green. And if you look at Blues Brothers, you'll see that Belushi has to empty his pockets and give his stuff to a prison guard. That's Frank Oz. And right now we're going to have Dan Aykroyd empty his pockets and give his stuff to a cop, Frank Oz. And here they talk with Mr. Beeks and some secret stuff. And let me just see him give stuff away. Make sure I get it right. Here's Danny. Everybody's going to go to jail because you don't know how important I am. Big mistake, big mistake. The world's going to come to an end next Tuesday if you continue this. Now the big guy gets up and says, take your clothes off or I'll really hurt you. Danny demonstrates that he has no idea what's going on. And now Frank Oz goes to work. For those of you who aren't familiar with Frank Oz, he's directed some Jim Henson Miss Piggy stuff, and he's been the puppeteer for Miss Piggy and the voice for Miss Piggy for years and years. That's how he started. And he was largely admired by a great many as being very, very skilled at it. And he went on to a comic directing career. And he's a very funny guy and a very, very nice man. And here's the planted white powder. We're at 38. I've never seen that before in my life. And I expect someone with a better pair of scissors than I have message discipline will cut a great deal of this out, but I'm just going to follow through. And now we're in the club, and here's the new Eddie. This is 39, and he's got more money than he knows what to do with, or he knows how to throw around. And so now they're blowing smoke in his face. And there's a fan blowing, so the money's not going the right way. But he does look good in that overcoat. We're 42 on the screen. We're in the party. Here comes Denham. He's got the tray of hors d'oeuvres. Recording what it says on the film, fuck them. We don't have to give them more food. That's where we are. Now Eddie bursts into a room, and here's a naked girl. Now, we stopped at 43 so I can explain this. I'm told this is interesting stuff. If you think about it, you want to put this on television. Now, it turns out for a couple of other reasons, the use of the N-word, a couple of other references that are very racist in nature but seem to not be particularly exciting in 1983, you couldn't put this movie out today. But if those things weren't true and it was just this one scene stopping you from putting this movie on television, what would happen is we'd reshoot the scene a second time for what's called television coverage, and she'd wear some flimsy but very well constructed and very well covering, at least as well as a bikini top on the beach, if not better, but looking like it's threatening to not. That is what you'd put her in, and it would still give you the same idea that there's some sexy business happening, but you can do that on television. That's why in television people are making love in bed with the co-fire chief and co-medical chief, and she's always in a brassiere, which I think is kind of interesting, but women wake up wearing makeup, so it's interesting too. Moving on from 43. Put your clothes on, let's get out of here. Now this weird lady dancing, we had a lot of discussion about this, which isn't fit for families, so I'm going to skip it. But let's assume that she'd probably dance with a t-shirt on for television. But I think it's too long anyway.
Too much on the Velveeta.
Yeah, it's just a lot of body flesh, and after a while it's like, who gives a... So, because the point is Eddie throws people out, so it doesn't mean anything that they're not clothed and he throws people out.
But this master they would shoot again for television, right?
We'd put the camera in the same position in the master and say, put on the t-shirts on the girls and shoot it again. Then you'd have your television coverage, and it would take you 3 more minutes, because you'd have the wardrobe girls standing by with the t-shirts ready. They'd been prepped. Here, she's putting a t-shirt on coming down the stairs. And here's another girl with a t-shirt on that sells the sex appeal and puts it still on television, in the realm of television. Now he throws out the 2 bad actors.
What was the movie rated? This is rated R, right, in the theater?
R, yeah, because you had naked boobs. It had to be R. And he said the F word 3 times.
And now we're on the internet.
Yeah. Now here's a very sympathetic ally, Denholm. We're talking at 44. Okay, we're on 45 and we're at the jail cell, and I just want to point out, you can tell that's a real jail, not a set, because if you look at the guy closing the door and the over his shoulder through the bars down the length of that corridor, there's too much production value and too much money spent that you wouldn't spend, that you'd never see unless those people actually worked there. And you had paid money to use this one section where they don't put real bad guys. They put them some other section. And you are shooting a movie in a rented part. And we're only allowed to be where these bars are, on this side of the bars. Now I'm going to roll forward and he'll pan to the right, and now you'll see the rest of real jail. And you walk past, and now he asks for what's his name. And he's getting Thorpe out, Winthorpe out. And now we're going forward to
Jamie Lee Curtis.
almost to the police station, and we're at 46 in the police station, and the woman leaning on Penelope is John Landis's mother, who is a very sweet woman. And I just wanted to say that, even though we're not sure that'll ever work again. Very good actor being scary, and now they come outside, and now here's a funny story to tell. Penelope, this is an important scene at 48. Penelope and Lewis have to argue about whether or not Lewis should have done what Penelope thinks he did and what Lewis knows he did. And we had to have some quiet here. Now, this happened to be a real police station. Those are fake extras, my extras, but it's a real police station. Now, this is Jamie coming up, and this is 48. And I have to point out that in order for this scene to play, we had to have control. Now, across the street, this is 48. Across the street, there was a school bus full of kids. I would say they were maybe six years old. And there was maybe 30 of them. And I had run out of production people to lock up this very big lockup for comedy, dialogue, live recording on the street in the front of the Philadelphia police station. Sync sound, absolutely, the real deal. They wouldn't have thought of doing this stuff in the 50s. So I ran across the street. Assistant directors in the 50s did not run. I ran across the street, left the camera, and got the kids in the bus across the street to settle down. Unfortunately, because I was not a parent, and because I was in a hurry, and because I was more interested in getting them quiet than I was in gentling them through the growth of 5 years old into 6 years old, I said to them, "Quiet!" And I said it sharply and loudly. And the entire bus full of kids all burst into tears all at once. I absolutely felt like the worst human being in the world. And they were all too busy crying for me to say, "Jesus, I'm sorry. I just wanted you to be quiet, not to cry."
Not used to a first AD
They
yelling.
were not used to a first AD yelling. So that was the first and last time I did that. Everybody's allowed to make mistakes. There was nobody to apologize to. I had to go back to the camera, and there was no adults. It was a bus full of kids with no adults. I don't know why that was. But anyway, that's what happened. I hope that's cut out, because this is embarrassing. Otherwise, my name is Joel fucking Silver. How about that? That'll be cut out for sure. He does bleep just so he doesn't forget in case I slip something in on him. Okay. So now we're at 48, and she's kissing. We're rolling, and I gotta hit the play button, and bang, she's kissing. And Penelope is shocked, and Jamie's asking for dope, and Penelope's disgusted, and Jamie's doing a great job. God, she's good. And now she's dropping down to giving him some real nasty.
How is Jamie to work with?
Jamie to work with was the sweetest, most wonderful person ever. She just is and was a terrific, lovely, wonderful human being. Now she's getting in the car, and we're rocking and socking. There's Beaks looking serious. Always amazed me how characters in movies would have reversals like this and would never get pissed off. And I'd always look at it and say, boy, if that was me, I'd be sore as hell. I'd be throwing something. But maybe that was me. Anyway, she takes him home. This might be called the beginning of Act 2 in other story structure situations. I myself believe in 22 steps, not 3 acts, but that's a whole different proposition. So now we drive forward. This is, I don't think this is process. I think this is insert car towing. I don't remember us having any kind of process. This looks too good. This looks too good. I think this is the real deal. And now it pulls up in the taxi in a nice Philadelphia neighborhood. And nothing's going to happen here. He gets turned down, so how about I speed up? What do you want to go to next?
Jamie Lee Curtis at home, where she's got that killer body.
Oh, taking off her clothes.
And then after that, we have, there's Bo Diddley. Long April Week begins the sort of prop mess or something, and then we're at the heels of Act 3, or with the stunt guy Al Franken comes in there. Just why don't we touch on her apartment, and then we'll.
I'm in her apartment right here.
Okay,
What do you want to talk about?
we're rolling. So
Okay, we're in Jamie's apartment. This is 5/8/58, almost a full hour. She's putting the groceries on the kitchen table. My recollection was I was sick downstairs that day. That's why I never saw her body in this outfit
wow.
in the level that it deserved. And now as I see this movie, even many years later, it breaks my heart. Even as bad as that wig is, it breaks my heart. But I don't think that wig was supposed to be good. But good God damn, she's got a body, that woman. Now, so she goes in the room with the toys, and she stands there in the most provocative way humanly possible, in the worst wig humanly possible, and they talk, and it's 59. And what do we go to next?
She's in the bathroom, out the bathroom. Oh, do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about that. So we go forward. She takes off her hair.
We're at minute 1.
Yeah, I went too far. I went too fast. My bad. That's what happens when you get impatient. There. Okay, we're at 1 minute straight up, and the interesting thing is when Jamie takes off her wig, her real hair, the non-hooker hair, she looks much more attractive and much more real. And oh God, is it wonderful to be 24 again, huh? And have a body like she had at 24. And I don't care how many scary movies she made that sucked, she still was a great person. Still is a great person. So now, this is the day I was sick, so the crew told me about it. There are few people that were there. She takes off her top and looks amazing. And she was amazing. And I was downstairs dying of the flu in the director's motorhome. Too dedicated to go home. Too sick to go upstairs and say rolling. Now we're inside. Look, we're at 101. Look at the chairs those guys are sitting in. It's amazing when you see furniture like that and you look at craftsmanship from the old days, and then you think about what it takes to imitate stuff like that. And this is why you go to locations. Look at the wood in the back. That's like the reverse of coffered ceilings on the wall, where you have the wood has a 3D repetition throughout, and that needs to be made. That needs to happen. We make it out of foam and paint it in the movies, but this is a real building. All right, we're going forward, and it's some fabulous room they're in, and my computer guy's got his screen running again. And what are we going to next?